5 times a year have nighttime meetings, right? Because we know that Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock is not the easiest time for most people to get out and come see us. So we appreciate everyone making an effort to come out tonight. We look forward to hearing from many of you. The first thing we have on our agenda tonight is a review of our 2024 end of year budget. Bart Hampson, our budget guru, is going to make a presentation on this. Welcome, Bart.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes. All right. So we're going to go ahead and go through the 2024 end of year results for the financials for 2024. In this presentation, we'll be reviewing the 2024 end of year results, and we'll be touching base on the financial analysis and reporting, general fund revenue and expenses, our sales tax results, and we'll open up to any questions anybody may have. This data represents the 2024 actuals. This chart shows revenue ending at $69.4 million and expenses coming in at $65.3 million for the general fund. We will discuss these expenses and revenue detail in a few slides. As we move on to our financial trend analysis, our overall revenue was up $2.8 million or 4.1% year over year. The only item out of trend in 2024 was a timing issue with property tax that was processed in April versus March from previous years. Our expenses are up $4.2 million or 6.9%. The increase in expenses is mainly driven by our contract and personnel services. The only trend call out for this spike is in July, which was related to the purchase of the Sheridan Center. We continue to monitor our financials as we analyze our actuals to date and estimate forecast to ensure we are staying within target of our financial goals. Our county general fund cash balance ended at $42.3 million versus the prior year of $39.3 million, which is about a $3 million increase, with encumbrances ending at $3.8 million for 2024. As we move on to end of year revenue results, before we discuss the 2024 revenue results, I'm again going to provide explanations for the revenue categories. This chart was created to help everyone see what is included in these revenue items. We currently have 119 separate revenue objects that have been summarized into 10 different revenue categories within the general fund. Revenues increased $2.7 million in 2024. The increase was driven by $2.4 million of investment earnings over the 2023 results. This increase represents 87.5% of the overall revenue increase and would not have been possible without the commissioners and the Treasurer Bahnsen working together to ensure strong returns in 2024, as well into the future as we move forward with our investment earnings. This chart represents the total revenue by category, which resulted in sales tax coming in at 43% in 2024 versus 44.7% in 2023, which was offset by our investment earnings that increased from 10% in 2023 to 13% in 2024, while property tax held flat at 20% during both years. Moving on to our general fund revenue highlights. As you can see from the above chart, 2024 revenue came in at $69.4 million versus a prior year of $66.6 million. That equates to an increase of about $2.8 million higher than the previous year. You can see year-over-year increases of investment earnings up $2.4 million, property taxes up $508,000, fees and charges for services up $420,000, and conveyance fees, homestead rollbacks, and casino also had slight increases. Year-over-year decreases were in jail rental income, which was down $438,000. Sales tax was down $208,000. And we also had small drops in local government and transfer revenue. Slide. Sales tax. There were no changes for sales tax rates in the first quarter throughout the state of Ohio. We continue to have one of the lowest sales tax rates in Ohio. Out of 88 counties, 80% of Ohio counties are higher than Fairfield County. About 15% have the same sales tax rate, 6.75%, and only 5% or 4 counties have a lower sales tax rate than Fairfield County. As we discussed earlier, sales tax decreased in 2024, with actuals coming in $208,000 lower than 2023. The decrease was driven by non-auto sales being down 1% and auto sales being down 3.5% year over year. 2025, sales taxes started strong, being forecasted up about $46,000 or 2% in January. Now we'll move on to the 2024 expense results. This slide represents the expense categories, where we currently have 685 expense line items that have been categorized into 7 different categories within the general fund. The 2024 end of year expenses increased an estimated $4.2 million. Increases were driven by contract and personnel services. Although capital outlay dropped year over year, the county continued to invest in projects like the Sheridan Center, airport hangars, and the Boswell Western Road projects. I will explain these expenses in detail in the next few slides. This chart shows where personnel services continues to be our largest overall expense, holding flat at 35% in 2024. And as we move on to the expense highlights, the 2024 expenses were $65.3 million versus $61 million of the prior year, or about a 6.9% increase. Contract services increased $2.3 million and was driven by Sheriff's Department investments in Tyler Technology, Carbine, and Motorola Solutions contracts. IT Office 365 also increased this year as we moved Office 365 from another fund to the general fund. Personnel services were up $1.7 million or 7.9%. And our transfers were relatively flat, but $6 million of the transfers went to capital improvement, the capital improvement fund, which was all one-time payments, so those won't continue in the future years. Finally, capital outlay was also down year over year. But as we discussed earlier, we continue to invest in 2024 with projects like the Sheridan Building, hangar project, and Boswell Western. One last note, we are beginning to put information together for our 2026 budgets, and we'll be reaching out to our departments as we plan to get together for the budget meetings for this year, building the 2026 budgets. Any questions?
So before I ask for questions, Bart, I just want to recognize you and Stacy again. I know we did that a lot through the budget process, but the work that you did in conjunction with all of our directors here and all of our other elected officials was outstanding and deeply appreciated. So thank you once again for all the work on the budget. Commissioner Davis, do you have any questions or comments?
I don't. I appreciate your work, Bart. Thank you.
Commissioner Levesey?
Very clear, Bart. No questions.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks for being here tonight. All right. So this is the time we set aside for public comments, and I just want to kind of lay the ground rules, right? Because it feels like there's going to be a lot of folks who want to get up and talk, and that's great. 3 minutes is the time, and we have to stick to that tonight because there's a lot of you here. The way we do things is you're addressing the commission. It's not a conversation. You're giving us your comments. We're not commenting back or answering questions or anything like that. We don't want people at the podium addressing the audience. We don't want the audience addressing people at the podium. Let's all try to be respectful of each other. I know there's probably some folks with differing views here. If we can all just be respectful for this evening, I'd very much appreciate it. Who would like to go first? Please step up. When you come to the podium, please state your name and address and limit your time to 3 minutes.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Melissa Hoover Connor, and I live at 7710 Catchment Road, or more appropriately, adjacent to the planned Eastern Cottontail Solar Project. I come to you tonight with good news. Last week, the American Farm Bureau Federation took a decisive stance regarding placing solar on our prime farmland, and I quote from their online magazine. Most notably, Ohio Farm Bureau's proposals on renewable energy were accepted, including a new national policy that supports incentives for renewable energy in rural areas that prioritizes energy production on land not suitable for agricultural production. The Ohio policies passed by American Farm Bureau Federation delegates stem from the Renewable Energy Working Group that was created as a result of the priorities set after the 2023 Ohio Farm Bureau annual meeting, with the focus of protecting farmland while developing brownfields and other suitable options for energy projects, said Brad Bales, Senior Director of State and National Policy with Ohio Farm Bureau. So, where are we now? Well, we survived the public hearing last week, and the evidentiary hearing for this project begins on March 4th. So, Commissioners, you may still oppose this project. It is time to step away from neutrality, just like the Farm Bureau did to say that renewable energy does not belong on prime farmland, ergo, Eastern Cottontail does not belong in Walnut Township. It is time to join Commissioner Fix. Thank you, by the way, for understanding the big picture and standing with the people. We appreciate you. It is not too late for you to write a letter to protect Fairfield County's prime farmland and her people. It is time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Who would be next?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Frank Poole II. I reside at 4595 Christmas Rock Road, Lancaster, Ohio. I'm a member of Local 18 Operating Community. We support the Eastern Cottontail Project, only just for work for our members and members of our local unions, but also in protecting our prime farm ground from developments like housing developments and stuff. And this project slated to have sheep grazing under panels. I've seen this in other states. This is a perfect marriage. Ground protected, you're still raising livestock at the same time. And when these projects start, erosion controls put in, the ground's protected from contamination. Anything spilled, diesel fuel, oil, no matter the amount, the ground's dug up and taken to the recycling facility where it's incinerated and contaminants taken out of it. Where a farmer out there, he spills 50 gallon diesel fuel or 20. Oh, I'll just get in and let it go under groundwater. But this way, down the road, farmer wants to go back to farming. And there is a bond issue, a appropriation bond put out by the state that has to be paid for before the project starts. That is paid for, that's used to reclaim the ground of the family down at the end of the lease plus the farming. That pays for 100% removal of all materials and put back to farmable use. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wool. Who would be next? Sir?
Hi, my name is Greg Tedesco. I'm part of the Eastern Cottontail Solar Project, and I attended last week's public hearing and spoke in favor of the project. I was offended and by the disrespectful behavior exhibited by many of the members of Citizens for Fairfields who were wearing the blue shirts, including attacks such as yelling personal references at my sister-in-law, as well as yelling at my 93-year-old mother-in-law as she left the stage. The group also publicly berated Ohio Power Siting Board judges as well. There's no place for this kind of intimidation and rude behavior in a public setting. What the entire community witnessed on Monday and Tuesday was not constructive nor civil. And it's something I've witnessed for quite some time by this group. For example, last summer, members put up a 10-foot sign with an arrow across the street pointing at a landowner's farm, and then followed by posting on Facebook. Last time I looked, the signs were still there. From my perspective, a handful of loud, discontented people that really employ fear-mongering and bullying are not representative of the citizens of Walnut Township, let alone Fairfield County. The Horn family has lived on the farm for several generations and have partnered with wonderful neighbors over the last 70 years to positively contribute to the community and continually reinvested in the farm. The Citizens for Fairfield's website highlight the assumption that it's either going to be solar panels or farmland, but we all know there's a third option there as well, and that is residential, commercial, and industrial development. One thing for certain is we know it's not going to look the same over the next 40 years. Not everyone appreciates the challenges of keeping a family farm economically viable for the current environment. That's why the Fairfield County Commissioners and a comprehensive plan, it was so timely and innovative. It's a lifeline for our farm, so we can keep the farm in the family for generations and the land for future agricultural use. Lastly, I just want to underscore one thing, and that is property rights. Development should certainly be questioned when it comes to impacts on health and safety in the community, but solar is not that type of a development. As you're aware, the OPSB sets hundreds of regulations and conditions that prevents this. The entire Horn family has made the determination that solar is the best fit for the land. If we can't lease our land the way we choose, then what's next? It's a dangerous, slippery slope. At the core, there are a few leaders from Citizens for Fairfields that don't want their current views impeded. As I mentioned, over the next 40 years, the views will change either by low-profile, energy-producing, renewable solar maintaining our agricultural heritage, or residential, commercial, and industrial development
Please
in
conclude
the
your
form
remarks,
of
sir.
suburban sprawl.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who would like to speak next? Thank you for your comments, sir.
My name is Cheryl Tusco. I am part of the Eastern Cottontail Solar Project. I attended last week's public hearing and spoke in favor of. First, I want to express my disappointment in the behavior of an alarming number of most members of the Citizens for Fairfields, as well as those influenced by the Citizens for Fairfields during the hearing. Relatedly, I'd also like to read an excerpt of a sad letter submitted to the Siting Board on January 27th by Thomas J. Jr. TJ and his entire family have been good neighbors and friends to us for decades. This is an excerpt from TJ's letter. Quote, my family resides inside the area of Eastern Cottontail Solar Project. After long deliberation and tons of research, my family decided to lease the farm for this solar project. As soon as the neighbors heard that something was happening that they didn't have happening on their ground, the misinformation began. For the past 3 years now, our family has been slandered over social media with people making claims that just are plain false. People have no idea who we are and how hard we have worked to build a farm from the ground up that we didn't inherit from someone 5 generations ago. Having my wife and young son harassed at the local pharmacy, or having people drive by and flip a bird while you are in front of your yard playing football with your kid is just a little of what our neighborhood has become. My family will not attend a local meeting because we will not sit across the aisle from people who have lied and villainized several elder members of the community who have decided that this is the best choice to keep their farms from development in the near future. This is the side of the issue that has not been addressed. The benefits to us are obvious to all, unquote. As a retired teacher I saw consequences of bullying. No one wins. The bully doesn't win. The receiver of the bullying does not win. Those hearing and watching, they do not win. The leaders who founded Citizens for Fairfield have set the tone for the organization. They have exuded venomous hostility and malice while spreading disinformation to as many people in the community willing to listen. My heart goes out to those who genuinely believe the incorrect information to which they have been exposed. During January 26th public hearing, I observed firsthand how shaken these folks have become. I'd like to thank the board for attending the meeting, both days of the hearing, which was very important. Solar has not divided this community. Blatant information by a few has leached into my community and has created fear and ultimately. I encourage you to reflect on the concerns people testified about and measure them against the rules and conditions of the state of Ohio.
Please conclude your remarks.
Except for solar projects, I believe the concerns have already been addressed.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Who would like to be next?
I'm Betsy Alt, address
Please.
10615 Lancaster, Purposeville Road, Baltimore, Ohio. Thank your wife, Dave, for cookies. Very appreciated. I am a participating landowner and proponent of the Eastern Cottontail Solar Project. I'm not a Farm Bureau member. Many farmers are not. I appreciate the chance to speak, and I appreciated your attendance at the hearing in Pleasantville. I believe that this board has a greater understanding of the rules and regulations the builders will face than most of us here tonight. The behavior of the members of Citizens for Fairfields left me astonished and hurt. After much talk of community and caring, I saw little of either. Since their inception, they have spread misinformation and outright lies, leading to and stoking unnecessary fear. Some of their biggest propaganda has been cancer causing, well defiling, fire, noise, and 50% drop in property values, not to mention the despoiling of Buckeye Lake, when none of the water from this solar field will flow in that direction. Know that those barking the loudest do not represent the majority. For a project that takes less than 1/10 of 1% of land in Fairfield County, the support is strong. I recognize that our desires run counter to many of our neighbors. Please know that we too have invested money, time, and care to our properties. Change is headed this county's way. We can be part of it, try to make it a positive thing for our community and state, or be run over by more urban sprawl. We're not asking to do anything but take part in a different harvest, turning sunlight into badly needed electricity. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Who would be next? Sir.
Good evening. My name is Wayne Harris. I live at 4185 Canal Road Northeast in Pleasantville. I'm asking each and every one of our elected commissioners to come out against the Eastern Cottontail Solar Project and any other solar project being considered in our area. This is our community, and we love it dearly and respect what it provides us in return. It's time that we, the people of this community, are heard and not silenced by big government and big money. The will of the masses of this community should be given precedent over our future and what we want, instead of what big business wants. This is a textbook David and Goliath situation, where we, the residents of this great county, don't have the deep pockets of the solar companies. We must fight this on our own, with our own meager funds and the time and effort of a host of passionate and dedicated volunteers. Don't be fooled by the promises of huge tax payments to the county and funding for schools. It never happens. Just look at the lottery and recreational marijuana and all the huge tax revenues it should be getting. Yet, every year there's a new tax levy or school levy on the ballot. Don't sell out our community for pipe dreams. You have an obligation to us, not the solar companies. Once this land is gone, we'll never get it back. It can never be returned to the rich, productive farmland that it is right now. Hunger is an issue in this country, and taking farmland out of production is not a very good way to solve it. The state of Ohio has far bigger problems facing the people. Until there's no longer anyone going hungry or being homeless or not having adequate health care, not receiving proper education, we shouldn't be wasting our time and resources trying to be green when it does nothing to solve real problems for real people. This solar project will do absolutely nothing to enrich our lives or our community. It will create an eyesore for years to come to remind us of the failure of our government officials to protect us from the greedy companies that only have their profits in mind and not the best interest of the community. Solar is in its infancy and still has a long way to go. If you remember the first satellite dish, the size of your first cell phone, even when solar becomes more efficient and more reliable, it has no place on prime farmland. There's so many other viable options to place solar panels than on our prime farmland. We ask those in charge of making this decision to deny the Eastern Cottontail Solar Project or any other project on our farmlands and in our communities. We are the people living in this community, and we don't want this. The only people in favor of this are special interest groups, people who don't even live here, or people who are getting paid by the solar companies. We elected you as our county commissioners to serve and protect us. Please do what we elected you to do. Thank you very much.
Comments, who would be next?
Hello, my name is Mary Hackey. I live at 10373 Cherry Lane in Baltimore. My sister and I are landowners in the Eastern Cottontail projects. This was not a decision we made lightly. We have been involved in farming our entire lives. After reading House Bill 52, watching the five-part solar study put out by OSU, and the safeguards put into our contract with EDF, we are satisfied that our issues were addressed about handling field tile, returning our land back to productive farm ground, and even being able to preserve portions of our farm ground. With all the current and future development within our county, alternative forms of energy is more important than ever. These businesses expect that. These new projects will consume vast amounts of energy. Where is that coming from? Shouldn't we be looking towards the future? Embracing any viable energy resource? We hear much misinformation about this project. We are confident that you will be able to discern the facts from the noise. We believe that at the end of this contract, our farm will be returned to being productive farm ground. I would rather my family's legacy be a solar field rather than being able to revert back to productive farm ground instead of a new housing subdivision.
Your comments? Who would be next? Evening.
My name is Louise Pence. I live at 655 Neal Avenue, Columbus, Ohio, 43215. I too spoke at the meeting, as did my husband this last Monday. And I'm speaking to you as some people would say, as an absentee landowner, because the family hasn't lived on this farm for many years. There have been renters, but one thing that the family has tried to do since since the Pences have owned it in 1864 is we tried to be good stewards of the land. We love the land. It's very important to us. We haven't been traditional farmers, but we love the farm and the land itself. Although my husband and I met as first-year teachers in Columbus about 60 years ago and spent our entire careers in education, we spent weekends and summers, and my husband was learning about how to manage the farm. Two boys learned their love of the land from all this time that we spent here with them and their grandparents.
Good stewardship is what I'm talking about, is, for instance, in 1935, when the barn burned down, David's grandmother, Edna McNaughton Pence, insisted to her son, my husband's father, that the barn would be rebuilt. It's not a pole barn, it's a real barn. And it's a wonderful place to be. We've always wanted the farm and the properties to look good, but to also be of value. But you know, the landscape is changing, and we probably are going to have trouble stopping it. Again, as we're driving to the farm, what we notice is that there are every month there's a new house going up, or as housing development, and there aren't so many barns left anymore. We feel that this solar project and the land that it's on will be here and can be used as good farmland in the next 20 years when this is finished. And I urge you to consider this project and vote in favor.
Who would be next?
All right, I'll be quick. Good evening. My name is Pam Hutton, and I live at 10373 Cherry Lane, Baltimore, Ohio. I'm speaking in favor of the Eastern Cottontail Solar Project. To have full disclosure, I am a landowner who has released their land to the project. I've essentially lived my whole life in Fairfield County, specifically in Liberty Township, on the Walnut Township-Liberty Township border. I attended the public meeting with OPSB last week and listened to many voices who were in favor, as well as those in opposition of the project. I feel that solar development is a viable resource to our community. It is important to look for energy sources in addition to fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are a finite resource, and our energy needs are only going to increase in the future. And I believe solar is a good diversification tool in our energy grid. We live in an age of information. While some of this is good, there are also the issues of misinformation. And let's face it, there's a lot of misinformation about solar. I know that you've been inundated with differing views over the last several years. And I know that most people only give their public opinion when they are unhappy. I bet that most people in the county are even unaware or do not even care about the issue of the solar project. I also bet if you asked people if they were investing in solar, was it good for the Fairfield County, they would say yes. The devil is in the details, though, and I think EDF has followed and surpassed safety and regulatory guidelines. I'm also concerned about growth. Fairfield County wishes to be a vibrant, thriving community. If we allow businesses to come in good faith, do the work, and are compliant with our laws and regulations, and then we arbitrarily stop the businesses, other businesses will not want to be a part of our community, and this will impact us. In closing, I believe the Eastern Cottontail Solar Project is a good addition to our energy grid in Fairfield County, and I am proud to be a part of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Comments?
Those 3 minutes, they're fast, baby.
Hello.
Good evening. Forgive me if I say duplicate. I know everybody's got a passion for this one way or another, but I do want to address a few things that just popped in my head. And one is misinformation.
If you could start with your name and
Oh,
address.
sorry.
Finish. Fine.
Janet Duncan, 6480 Willard Road, Northeast, Pleasantville, Ohio. I am across the street from the proposed site. But what I was saying was misinformation. It's a buzzword, and I appreciate it. However, different information doesn't make it misinformation. There are different viewpoints, there are different facts. Fires are a fact. They're hoping they won't happen, but we don't know that. Runoff is a fact. They're hoping that won't happen, but we don't know that. So you get the gist of what I'm going with here. But let me go on to some other things. I did speak last week. Excuse me. I did notice the tension between the two groups. And it teared my heart apart. I said it last week. We've got families against families, generational families against families, farmers against farmers. That in itself tells you the core of what this is not for this county. This county's always been such a welcoming, together place. This is a divisive act, and I'm against it, in case you can tell. But anyway, So I wanted to talk a little bit about, a gentleman last week said that he decided to put his farm on the lease because he had visited a farm up in Madison County that had done this. So I looked into that. And apparently that did go through. However, since that went through, that county has decided, no, big mistake, we don't want this anymore. So they have stopped all, this is Madison County, they have stopped further projects from going forward because they did it and they saw it wasn't for them and it was a mistake. And I'm afraid that we're going to do the same thing and it's going to be too late before we can fix it. I know there was talk about, I talked last week about putting solar panels on Amazon roof and Jeff Bezos took them down because they cause fires. That's a fact. It's not misinformation, it's a fact. And I also noticed that just this week, there was a solar farm in California who is 11 years into its 20-year solar lease, and they are stopping. Why? Because it's not economical. Advancements in solar has gone so far, so fast that what they're doing there, they started years ago, is no longer economical, and they're pulling out. I see that happening here. There's already, since this project has started, developments in paint that allows you to paint on a solid surface to attract the rays of the sun, harvest that for energy. It's just happening at such a pace. My fear is that we are looking at investing in 8-tracks when we've already got music streaming live. You know what I mean? It's like, it's way off. So anyway, I'm nervous and I apologize. I'm sure I have a lot more here. I'm going to give my little cheat sheets if that's okay. I'm not going to.
If you could, please, thank you.
For this reason, as well as for those spoken by others that directly impact this, and I do stress that, but those that are directly impacted have a voice that need to be heard. My family, myself, my business, all request a denial of the Eastern Cottontail project, as well as any other current or future industrial solar projects proposed in Fairfield County. Thank you.
Comments? Who would be next? Sir? So she wins so far for best analogy of the night, and you win for best prop of the night.
My name is Christopher Douglas. I live at 938 Cairn Circle in Pickerington, Ohio. Thanks for letting us share our opinions this evening. It was good to come here and listen to different viewpoints. I brought my son Connor here so that he could listen as well, although we've been drawing a bit and doing other stuff. I am in support of the Eastern Cottontail Solar Project. I would have liked to prepare some remarks, but taking care of 2 kids, I couldn't afford the time to. But I work as a physician assistant in the hospital. I worked in the emergency room literally down the road for 6 years, and I worked in the hospital at Pickerington for the past couple of years. And I say that because I take care of anybody who walks into the room without bias, and I take care of them and I listen to them, and I care about this community. And I think I've done a decent job. I think a project like this, just like anything else, I think we all have arguments, even in our own homes, we have arguments, but we find a way to work it out. There are risks to anything. There are risks to the air we breathe. There's risks to the water we drink. But I believe that the benefits of this project outweigh its risks. And I think that the future will be better for our community if we move forward with this project. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Sir. Good night, buddy.
Rob, put my hand.
Good evening, Fairfield County. My name is Francis Martin. I live at 9370 Cattail Road Northeast, Pleasantville, Ohio, Walnut Township, Fairfield County. I will be forced to live directly across the street from this industrial solar plant. A laydown area is planned to be across the driveway from my driveway entrance. This project is just wrong for this community. It was wrong on how it was put in place with secrecy and non-disclosure contracts. It is wrong to use the defense of property rights Property rights are not just for landowners that lease their property. Property rights are equal for all property owners. A property owner's rights end when they negatively affect their neighbor's property. This project will negatively affect me in many ways. It will affect my property value. It will affect my well water. It has already affected my mental and physical health. It is wrong for a foreign company, EDF, come into the United States of America and use its citizens' tax money, subsidies, to construct this project. It is wrong for this and other companies to be allowed to state that solar is a reliable energy. It only supplies energy when the sun is shining. It is wrong to construct a project so close to people's residence and on property and on prime farmland that already is being used in a very productive way now. In closing, I ask from one retired first responder to another retired first responder. Commissioner Levacy, please support your fellow commissioners' decision to reject this project. In the 2.5 years that I've been coming to these meetings, I have seen the commissioners have a strong, united front on all their decisions. Don't let the Levacy legacy, the Eastern Cottontail, sounds a lot like East Palestine situation, a train wreck waiting to happen. This project will change Fairfield County's landscape. Commissioner Levacy, citizens of Fairfield need you. I need you. Thank you.
Your comments, who would be next? Going once.
Commissioners. So this is my third time speaking. My name's Chris Keller. I've moved since the last time, or the first time I spoke. I'm now living just outside of Millersport, 10587 Deep Cut Road. And this is my third time speaking. I've raised concerns in the past about property rights and the fact that the greater threat to farmland in this county is development. We're looking at, over the life of this solar project, 40,000 to 80,000 acres are going to be developed. And when that land is developed, it never becomes farmland again. I'd like you to drive west on 70, get off at Bryce Road or Hamilton Road, and drive south and see what happens to land after it's been developed. What's not been mentioned is the elephant in the room is climate change. Nobody's talking about that. And that's where this whole thing started. And if you remember last summer, we had an unprecedented heat wave and drought, and we're going to have more of that if we don't do something about it. And solar is one of the things we can do about it. And we're talking about looking at the bigger picture. I can think of a bigger picture than that, other than an asteroid hitting the planet. So we can either be part of the problem or we can be part of the solution. The development that's coming will come at a cost not only in farmland, but an increase in demand for power. And where will that power come from? It can't come from burning more fossil fuels for obvious reasons to anyone who isn't denying science. The Cottontail project alone will provide power for 48,000 homes without adding to atmospheric carbon. Providing power for 48,000 families and avoiding more summers like last year is more important than the view out my window. I've heard people say that we should just put solar panels on the roofs of all the warehouses. Those big flat roofs look like a great place for solar panels. And it sounded like a good idea to me when I first heard it, but then I realized those roofs are all engineered for specific codes and weight bearing for the snow, load, and ice. And adding solar panels to it would require complete re-engineering and rebuilding of all those roofs, plus how are we going to compel all the people who own those warehouses to do it. I've also heard about that we should put solar panels on all the brownfields. Most of the brownfields I know I've already mentioned are the decaying shopping malls and the apartment buildings around the perimeter of Columbus, and that's just moving outward. And And what we really ought to do is change the zoning so that that doesn't happen anymore. But that's not the purview of this meeting.
Please conclude your remarks.
Sir. Solar installations. The solar installations are broadly considered in the energy industry to be a stopgap measure to provide carbon-free energy. With newer technologies like small-scale solar or nuclear can come along. By the time that happens, most of Fairfield County will look like the area around Pickerington. When the solar panels do come down, the few farms they cover may be the only green spaces left in the county.
Thank you for your comments. Who will be next?
Evening, Commissioners. I'm Amanda Everett, 201 Sac High Street. Today I'm here as the Executive Director of Destination Downtown Lancaster, and I'm here in support of the Eastern Cottontail Solar Project. This project stands to create hundreds of jobs for our region and add millions in revenue to our local school districts as well as critical services. Projects like Eastern Cottontail Solar make Lancaster and our surrounding communities throughout Fairfield County more resilient and easier to attract people and business. You all know that I am the Director of Destination Downtown Lancaster, an economic development organization and nonprofit here in Fairfield County. We work with many businesses as they're coming in, so we're recruiting and retaining new businesses. And there are plenty of businesses that seek clean energy options when choosing a region to locate. We know we need more energy, and there's no better place to do this than locally. Additionally, the project will create up to 500 local jobs with additional long-term opportunities. Lancaster should welcome clean energy options to our state, region, and local businesses can continue to prosper. I also appreciate how EDF Renewables is fully engaged as far as answering questions to our small business community, being available for meetings to fact check and go over the realities of solar fields, and they've been very lovely to work with. I thank you for your time.
Hello, I'm Teresa Speakman. I live at 870 East Mulberry Street here in Lancaster. Thanks for hearing us today. We need alternatives to fossil fuels and the greenhouse gas pollution it brings. First time I witnessed a field of solar panels was in Boulder, Colorado, about 13 years ago. And I was so excited. I thought it was beautiful. The beauty that I saw was in hope for our future. Some people against solar have called me various names on the Eastern Cottontail Facebook page because I said that it was beautiful. The beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. We may have differences of opinions about what is beautiful, but that should not be the reason a project is determined worthy or not. Or what one's neighbors should do with their property. I'm guessing that some people that oppose a solar project going in across or down the street from them would also object to somebody telling them what to do with their property. There has been a lot of misinformation spread about solar, and with that brings the fear of the unknown and resistance to change. Solar panels do not poison the soil or disrupt wildlife, but it actually enriches the soil, especially with this, in the case of grazing sheep. I celebrate the Eastern Cottontail Solar Project that will bring almost $2 million supporting our schools, libraries, and parks for the life of the project, many jobs, and a clean form of energy. As a lifelong resident of Fairfield County, I wholeheartedly welcome solar projects in my community, county, and state. Let us be part of this solution. And in the words of the great Sam Cooke, it's been a long time coming, but I know a change is going to come. Yes, it will.
Who would be next? Sir. Hope you got one, sir. Yes, go ahead. Mr. Nasa, you can be next.
My name is Bill Cruisling. I've been 901 in Albany. Wasn't able to attend the public meeting because I had flu. I'm here to speak on behalf of Eastern Cottontail Solar Projects and sheep production in Ohio. Sheep farm. In rotational grazing livestock for 34 years. Milk cows, beef cows, sheep. Got a world of experience in it. Currently run 350 ewes, 150 placement ewes, 20 rams for sale and breeding. Sheep operation, like I said, is our main source of income. As far as local economics and business, we do most all our machinery dealings with Folks Ag. Sell our sheep locally to Gables, it's a new operation. So we try to support Southeast Ohio. As far as sheep production, it's one of the few ag industries that hasn't been taken over by large corporations. Most all the sheep operations are true family farms that bring in outside money from urban areas to our small communities. Usually doesn't happen that way. Usually we're extraction community. Integration of solar farms and family sheep operations, in my opinion, is of vital importance to instilling trust and goodwill in the community while creating a partnership that's mutually beneficial for both. One thing I keep hearing is taking ag land out of production. Well, I'm here to tell you that sheep eat grass. And there's very few acres on that facility that won't be touched by sheep. So it will continue in ag production, proper people in place. So, sheep have been grazing and managing properties for thousands of years. It's nothing new. Some people think there needs to be research. I'm here to tell you it's pretty much plug and play. We need some extra internal fencing. We need water lines, simple sheep handling facilities, and we're good to go. In the running, hopefully, to be one of the people with sheep on the property. My neighbors where we're at now, with our sheep business, they love seeing the guard dogs work. They love seeing the border collies work. So it's not solar, take out the ag, it's solar and ag. So you kind of feel like Horton has a hoop. There's not many of us, but we're out there. And we make a living with sheep in agriculture. So in closing, I've got 2 daughters that help part-time. They would love to be part of our operation. But right now, it's not economically viable to land prices and such. But with this project, I foresee if we get the contract to manage the property, that we'll employ 4 full-time employees.
Please conclude your remarks.
To manage the property. I'd like to conclude by saying sheep production in Ohio is agriculture. And I appreciate Eastern Cottontail's dedication to sheep production. So,
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Nice.
My name is Tim Nisley. Live at 8355 Cattail Road, down the road from Frank. Wouldn't have to be having this discussion right now if the EDF wouldn't have went and had so much solar put in that it could have been just up to our township to, be able to, put things out there where they could, do it. But anyway, I think the most important thing that I wanted to come here for was that I think all of our congressmen you guys, we all need to be on one page. We need to do what's best for the township. It's not a very big town, Pleasantville. It's not as big as the whole Fairfield County, and it's small. And I know of a family that has leased their property out. And I think it's kind of reversed the other way around. They don't talk to us because we put up a sign. How childish is that? They don't wave at us anymore at all because we have signs in our yard. So what? We don't want it in our town. They ought to be able to respect it. And the only way that we can get through all this is that we have to hire an attorney, do all the talking for us. Eastern Cottontail, millions of dollars of attorneys. Just slap them out there and do it. To each one of those landowners, you have an attorney fighting for you, which is ridiculous. Do it on your own. Try that. Take some of that bucks that you got and go out and grab yourself an attorney. Fight for your rights that way. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Who would be next?
Because I got a story to tell.
2 minutes to tell.
Yeah, I got a backup. I'm gonna give you a picture of my home. I'm Brad Berry. I reside at 5500 Canal Road, Pleasantville. I lived here my entire life, and I'm gonna tell you a story of my farm as I overlook the solar panels, and they come down on my cattle operation as a watershed where water will come right down into it. I've not spoken at any of these meetings. I've kept quiet because I don't like controversy. I don't like speaking anymore. I used to do a lot of public speaking. So, my farm, where I live, has been in my family for 200 years. I'm the 7th generation, children the 8th, my grandchildren now the 9th. I have a book. It's the history of Fairfield County. In that book is my 5 great-grandfathers back, Edward, who was one of the first settlers of this county in 1811. Came here in 1807, got a land patent, which I had signed by the 4th President of the United States. There's a lot of history that goes back into my farm. I've always wanted to be a farmer. And as I got older, our farm wasn't big enough for me to be a full-time farmer. I worked a factory job, Cyril Scott. And I farmed at night. And many of these farms around me, I shared my tractor lights with them. I could see them in the next field. I have respect for my neighbors. I don't understand why some of them have done this. I've toiled the ground just like they have, and I've worked hard, and they've worked hard. Many of them were very good farmers. Some of these people are just landowners. They don't understand what a farmer goes through. I raise a crop, and I raise livestock, and I never know what I was going to get. Raise a commodity, a crop, and you might make $50 an acre. One year, you might make $200, and in some years, you don't make a thing. After 25 years of working a factory job, I came home to the farm, and I said I wasn't going to work 2 jobs anymore. So I started direct marketing everything off my farm. I got this written down, but I'm kind of off pace in my practices. People come out to my farm now, and they buy beef, pork, chicken, eggs, and feed. I've developed a relationship with hundreds of people. They come, They want to see the countryside. They want to see my 200-year-old farm. They want to hear my story. I've entertained people from North Dakota, Canada, Iowa, and a lot of surrounding places. I've been in magazines that I've brought in, front covers of the Ohio Cows Association, the Ohio Country Journal. And when I made the front cover of the Ohio Farmer, the kids made a plaque for me. I've been plaques for Environmental Stewardship Award. I've done numerous projects on my farm with soil and water to improve the soil. I've got projects where there are places where birds can nest. Bald eagles fly over our farm now. This is devastating to me, this solar project. People are going to come and they're going to see all this industrial solar. And when the construction starts and the dirt's flying and the posts are pounding, nobody's going to want to come and buy my product. And I've built this business up from the ground. And it's very much going to hurt. I have respect for a lot of people that spoke here tonight. They work hard. They're good farmers, but some of them don't understand what's going on. Some of them are people that live far away and they don't understand what it's like to be a farmer, what it's like to take care of the ground in your life.
Sir, I'm going to ask you to conclude your remarks.
I'll give you some pictures, I'll give you my letter, and then I'm going to let my wife take over. I don't know. I just, well, you get this.
Okay, well, I'm Marion Berry, 5500 Chanel Road, Pleasantville, Ohio. I keep hearing climate change. I keep hearing all this stuff that this is clean energy. It is not clean energy. And it's not clean energy when it runs into your field and it ruins your family business. Somebody made the comment that it was people were unaware. They are unaware. This is done in secret. If you ask them if they want solar, they say, yeah, I want solar. I want solar. It's great. Then you explain the project to them and they aren't so happy about it, especially with us, because when we go to the market, we try very hard not to do anything political. I don't want somebody jamming their political stuff down my face. I haven't done that, but we will. We will get our customers. We will get them rounded up. This is not a project that is going to sit well with Fairfield County. And to the people who want to graze sheep under it, is anybody going to want to eat the sheep that are under there? They may say there's nothing wrong with it. They can say whatever they want, but people are not going to want to eat it. Our customers are not going to think that's great. It's not going to be a project that people are interested in. And to the California wildfires, the EPA is a disaster. And the reason is, and they say, quoting, because of lithium batteries, EVs, and solar panels. When they melted into the ground. What do they do with that? So they just thought they would dig it up. They're putting it in other counties. They don't want it either. So what do you do with the stuff when you're done with it? What do they do with the product? What do they do with all the solar panels? It is going to be a disaster, like the wind turbines and everything else. So I think EDF keeps talking about the projects they've done. Does anybody care what the adjacent property owners are feeling now? The projects are in. They're not happy. Does anyone speak to anyone around these areas? No. All right. And then somebody's talking about redoing roofs because of the weight of the snow or whatever. So do solar panels produce electricity when there's clouds? Do they produce electricity when there's snow on them? They don't. Okay. So I don't know if that's what you wanted to say, but that was my thought. Do I have any more time?
You have 40 seconds.
Okay, I'll just read. I don't want to sell my land and leave my heritage and the life I live. I want my community to stay a farm community. When I preserved my farm, I had to get permission from our county commissioners. They were gracious and gave me permission to preserve my farm. Nobody protested or put up signs. In fact, recently a house sold next to our farm and used the preserved farmland as a selling point. People want to be surrounded by farms, not solar panels. Thank you.
Your comments.
I think this is.
My name is Lori Sword, and I live at 7666 Hampson Road. I've lived in Fairfield County for over 25 years. I've raised my kids here. They now have kids, and they live here. My daughter and my grandbabies, they live on Cattail Road, which is where they're going to have the project in front of them and directly behind them. Had they known this was going to happen 4 years ago when they bought the land to build their home, they wouldn't have bought it, but here we are. I noticed that like when they bought the land, there were tons of restrictions on the land that they bought. You know, they had to follow every restriction, they had to get permission to do all this stuff, but they have no say now with this project right on across the street. I obviously oppose this project. I do support renewable energy, but I do believe this proposal threatens the agricultural resources and local identity. Our farmland is essential for food production and supports local farmers. I noticed that everyone speaking, even at the meeting on Monday and here tonight, that is for it, none of them are local. Had this been happening in their front yard, they may have a different opinion about the situation. I will say, I'm a real estate agent, and as a real estate agent, I know for a fact that property value will go down. I know someone commented, oh, that's not going to happen. It will. I mean, no one is going to go to this house and go, oh, I'm going to pay $500,000 for the 6-acre beautiful view. Not going to happen. This is my biggest concern, and I'm sure a lot of people here that are against it have the same concern. I know people are saying, oh, the risks are minimum, but you don't know. Do I want my grandchildren to just have minimum risks to have issues in 10 years or 20 years? They're literally 2 and 1 year old, and they live across, and now they'll be behind them as well. I don't want to get upset about this, but I'm really concerned about their health, and I just beg you to consider the long-term effects it's going to have on people's health and safety in the area. Sorry, I wasn't going to do this. I urge you to explore alternative locations, such as commercial sites that would not sacrifice valuable farmland. And I hope you consider this project and prioritize the protection of our community. Some things are just more important than money. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
I have no second sorry.
Hi, my name is Barbara Martin. I'm 370 Cattail Road, Pleasantville. I've been a Fairfield County resident for 32 years. I moved to Walnut Township 6 years ago with the expectation of living in a rural area and zoning would be maintained. The land around me is zoned agricultural or rural residential, not industrial. I'm adjacent to the Eastern Cottontail project with a laydown area directly across from my driveway. I attended both nights of the public hearing last week. I'm not reading that speech. As I patiently waited for my turn, I listened to others, many of who are not from Walnut Township or even Fairfield County, speak about this project and state, if approved, it would create 500 good-paying jobs with good benefits and a pension. They failed to state these jobs are short-term, temporary jobs over the construction process of approximately 1.5 to 2 years. In my opinion, none of these are very strong reasons to approve a project that will negatively affect many others for 30 years. Let's not forget about others in Walnut Township with potentially decreased incomes or job loss if this project is approved. This includes farmers who lease land, truck drivers, mechanics, hired labor, ag sales, and etc. This would have a trickle-down effect and a significant impact on our agricultural economy. So 500 short-term temporary jobs have been created, but what have we lost? My husband and I are retired. Our home is our biggest investment. And we are trying to protect its value as we are depending on the equity for our retirement. Commissioner Fix, thank you for your letter to the OPSB requesting they deny this project. Walnut Township is not the proper place for this. There are too many homes this project will surround, too many residents negatively impacted, 138 residential structures within 1,500 feet of a solar panel. Those are homes. It's easy for those living outside of Walnut Township in Fairfield County to support a project when it doesn't directly affect them. I'm asking you to listen to those who are most negatively impacted by this project and those not benefiting financially. Please support us and request the Eastern Cottontail project is denied.
Comments? Who'd be next?
My name is Isaac Berry. I live at 9665 New Salem Road, Pleasantville, Ohio. There's a loud project. It's very noisy. You've been around cattle, which the project is going to be right beside my livelihood of cattle. They'll be running. This is a project that's going to be lasting for years. So how long does it take for a cow to get used to that noise? I have a 91-year-old grandfather that lives 200 to 300 yards from the project. If you know anything about old people, they take naps. How's he going to take a nap during the day? That's going to diminish his life, being honest. I'm an 8th generation farmer. I'm very proud of it. I graduated from Fairfield Union in 2018. The food, where I was told we were going to run out of food by 2058. You Google that number, it's 2050. That's a problem. You need to find out how to feed. A lot of you are going to be honestly dead or very old at that time. I will be 50 years old. My kids will be 27 and 25. It's time to wake up and focus on the next generation. We were awarded an award, I can't remember the name, it was a few years, but Carrie Brown was for honesty or something in the workplace. I honestly can't tell you. But we went to get the picture and it was for my feed business. So we were going to go take it, asked her if she wanted to take it at the feed shed. She said, no, this is beautiful right here at our farm, where you're going to overlook and see solar panels now. I don't find that beautiful. I don't think she would find that beautiful in the picture. But right now we have a beautiful farm. I love it. Dave, let's see, you were not there Tuesday night to hear my speech. Not going to repeat it, but 12 out of 13 townships have voted against this. You are an elected public official. It is your job to speak for the people. You remaining silent is not doing your job. I don't understand if you are corrupt, paid for, lazy.
He's the president.
Wait, no, that's
quite enough. That is quite enough. Here you go.
That's the kind of stuff we want to avoid.
That's uncalled for.
Who would be next?
Happy for it.
Thank you, sir.
My name's Alan Turnbull, 4495 Canal Road, Pleasantville, Ohio. My comments are centered around Commissioner Fick's letter of February 22nd, 2025 to the Iowa Power Siting Board. The letter points out that he has worked very hard to remain neutral and thought it would be most fair to allow the process to play out and let the results stand. He said that industrial solar projects takes up thousands of acres of land that can and should be, in his estimation, be preserved for the residential, commercial, and industrial development that we know will be coming to Fairfield County. The Eastern Cottontail agrivoltaic project consists of 1,550 acres, which is a fraction of 1% farmland in the county. However, after learning of the arterial development in Pickaway County,
Commissioner Fix decided to write to our deciding board and request them to decline the project. That project is approximately 31 miles from the site of this project. There will be development pressure on Fairfield County from projects like Anduril, Intel, and the many data processing centers proposed. However, relative rapid development will occur in probably all counties in central Ohio. Commissioner Fix pointed out that the trustees have been working closely with them and others to form partnerships with the villages of Millersport and Thurston. This is in line with the 2024 comprehensive plan, which emphasizes concentrating future development in the cities and villages. In particular, the plan identifies Area 2, targeting land for development northwest of Millersport, and Area 4 primarily with residential between Baltimore and Thurston, and with industrial at the east edge of Thurston. The communities have the basic utilities now. The comprehensive development plan maps show shaded areas around Millersport and Thurston. Development should be targeted. It should be noted that the shaded areas for this development does not appear to include the areas of Eastern Cottontail as proposed to be occupied. Mr. Fix's letter states that we should have all of the above policy when it comes to energy generation. And I know that we need more energy capacity than ever as it stands today. I ran across a February 2nd, 2025 article on PGM, which is the regional power grid operator for 13 states.
Sir, if you would please conclude your remarks.
Including Ohio. PGM warned that capacity shortage could affect its system as early as 2026, 2027 delivery year. It pointed out that new electricity facilities are not being built fast enough. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment tonight?
Evening, Commissioners. My name is Jim Shuttle. I live at 889 Lane Drive, Lancaster, Ohio. It's actually in Pleasant Township, just south of the project area. Lived here for about 30 years, and I drive through the project area frequently because it's just a few miles north of me. I'm in favor of the solar project. I would just like to touch on a couple different points. Renewable energy is important for our future. Currently, U.S. has about 40% of its agricultural land is in corn production. Over 40% of that corn is grown specifically for ethanol. 99% of the corn grown in this country is seed corn. It's garbage that we can't eat. So anybody that says we have a shortage of farmland and that's why people are starving, that is not true. We have plenty of farmland to feed people. We choose to use that land to grow industrial corn for various industrial processes, the biggest one being ethanol production to put in cars. So we currently use all this farmland to make ethanol. About 20% of our farmland makes ethanol for road fuel. If we were to convert that farmland to solar, which I'm not proposing that, 20% of our farmland solar would be huge. But if we did that, we would produce 4 to 5 times as much energy out of any given acre of land that would be currently get from the corn ethanol production. So converting 1% of the county's farmland from corn ethanol production to solar production will make more net energy with no loss of food crop land. Another thing I'd like to touch on is that farming is a business. The farmer's job is to turn sunlight and dirt into money. That's what farming is. Trying to make money using the soil you own and the sunlight you get. If the farmer can get $200 an acre growing corn, and he can get $500 an acre growing electrons through photovoltaic, the farmer's business is obligated to do the thing that makes him the most profit. That's his job. The job is not to lose money because whatever, somebody says he should lose money. Another thing that I would like to talk about too is the solar technology today is much better than solar technology of 10 years ago. Solar technology 10 years ago is much better than the solar technology 10 years before that. If they build this solar field today and they get all the racks and wiring and everything in production, 10 to 20 years from now, those solar panels will start to time out. Solar panels do have a limited lifespan. When they start to time out, they're going to get replaced with new at-the-time panels that will be much more efficient than the panels we have today.
Please conclude your remarks, sir.
So today, this is a big project. It's going to make megawatts. 20 years from now, when they update it, it'll make even more megawatts. So I have small scale solar at my house. I would love to see larger scale solar all over the county, not all over the county, but spread out, distributed generation, we call that. I hope that the commissioners will support this project. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Who would be next?
Ms. Annalise Berry. I live at 5500 Canal Road, Pleasantville, Ohio. I'm 15 years old, and I'm a lot younger than most of the people you see in this room. Most of the people that are making decisions that are actually going to affect my future. I hear a lot of people using trigger words like future. That's me. You're affecting my future. You are making decisions that are affecting the next generation of farmers. The land that you are saying will be brought back in 40 years is not going to be brought back in 40 years. It's not going to be the same. If you research land, you have to fertilize it. The worms, birds eat worms, aerate the soil. The soil, you can't just grow crops on hard dirt. You can't grow them on tile. They have to be good land. My father has, if you listen to him talk, he'll pick up a pile of dirt. I've seen him do it. He'll scoop up a thing of dirt and he'll be able to tell you, oh, this is missing this, or he'll sift through it like, oh, you have to do this with this. Why? Because that's what farmers do. I've heard a lot of people talk about sheep, how you can raise sheep on panels. I have raised sheep since the age of 8. And no, not my father having sheep. He taught me how to raise things and let me have my own sheep because he wanted me to be involved in the farm. If you put sheep under the panels, you have to raise the panels, making them more ugly, more of an eyesore. Sheep, we were told that the fences that would go around EDF renewables projects would be non-wildlife affecting fences, that animals could still go through them. Well, are your sheep going to go through them and go running around? No, you're going to have to put up fences or they're going to go everywhere. The wires go under the ground 6 to 8 feet. If you're running water, you're going to have to run it under the field. But the actual wires for the panels go 6 to 8 feet under the ground. Are they going to dig that all up when they return the land to agriculture? No, they're not going to, because they're going to go bankrupt. Two-thirds of all solar companies within a span of 8 years went bankrupt. Sheep are afraid of loud sounds. If you've ever met a sheep, they're pretty scared. They're just generally pretty scared animals. They're very timid, very sweet, but also very scared. You pound a bunch of posts, they're going to go running. They're going to freak out. They're going to be traumatized. Your meat is affected by how the animal feels. If an animal is traumatized, the meat, I did MQP, which is a muscle quality performance, where you look at carcasses of animals and you can tell how they were raised. If an animal is scared, it affects the meat quality. The sheep are going to be scared because if you have to take care of the solar panels, you're going to have trucks constantly driving in, constant maintenance on these panels that's going to be loud and scary, and you're scaring sheep.
Please
You are scaring
conclude
animals.
your remarks if you
Thank
would.
you.
Thank you. Who would be next?
I'm gonna do it. Jerry Clymer, 3464 South Bank Road, Walnut Township. I've heard a lot of things on both sides that, they say that all the misinformation And one of the people had mentioned that it's not misinformation, it's just different information, different facts. Well, if you've taken a trip to, and I'm not going to discuss the Fox Squirrel project, which is an EDF project because we have the evidentiary hearing coming up, so that's going to be later. But if you've taken a trip to Yellowbud, which was a horrible project, and that's the same company that's supposed to be doing the Carnation Solar down in Amanda. Very wet fields. They had flooding across the road into people's yards. They had to drill wells so the surface water dumped into those wells. They've had broken panels. They've had broken actuators. If you talk to the maintenance supervisor, it's either 3 or 4 people that take care of 2,000 acres. So when you take all of the farmers, people, whoever farms their land, and the people that take care of the equipment and the feed and the seed and all of that over 30 or 40 years compared to approximately 4 people. Now EDF says that they're going to be 6 people. Well, this is a smaller project than the Amanda project. Or not the Amanda project, but the Yellowbud project. There are 4 people taking care of 2,000 acres. They have their men, or had them anyway, working in the middle of the night, shutting the project down so the men could work at night on the panels themselves because they're in operation. The fields are wet, and the supervisor said, I have my man working at midnight because the fields are wet and I don't want them to get electrocuted. And at night we can shut it down. They had panels that were cracked being put in. There were panels that were cracked that showed up cracked and they put them in. And then they had some that were cracked when the men put them in. He was trying to get them back to replace them because there was it was a warranty issue and he was having a very hard time getting them back.
Please conclude your remarks.
Okay. We don't want things like this to happen. And it happens all over the country. It happens all over the world. EDF has never decommissioned a project. We don't know what they're going to do. They're working on 10% complete plans in their application.
Chair, please conclude your remarks.
Okay, this should not be a design build project. We're asking you to please ask them to deny. Thank you.
Who would be next?
My name is Mike Pond. I live at 7710 Cattail, Pleasantville, Ohio. I was at the meeting last week. We had 6.5 hours. I did speak as the last speaker. It was okay. My wife is Misty. There's been a couple of remarks here that I do take. She has done everything she can to be professional, respectful. You see the way how she talks and speaks to you commissioners. And folks in this group have done their best to be accurate, best they can. So, those remarks were required. I talk about, obviously, I'm opposed to the project for 6 different reasons. I had my speech, but I'm not going to read it all. Go over the high points of zoning. Obviously, our local zoning is being ignored due to the futility. Prime land destruction, action soil. Water supply. Definitely a truth that rare earth metals can contaminate the water. Wildlife. Who here has had a deer car owned? This will not be critical. 275 acres across from my house, panels. Construction, up to 1.5 years. Just terrible construction things. And safety, glare, blinding light. House to catch on fire, and definitely my home value would decrease. In regards to the meeting last week, there were some people or I believe. They were not characteristic of the people here tonight. People are angry. And the big elephant in the room is we all go home, we all say to each other, what do we have to get the unanimous support of our commissioners? Frankly, without that, our sign board probably not likely to reject this project. We had 1,700 petitions signed. Well, our 13 township trustees have signed this, so we do appreciate the work you have done. Commissioner Fix, your support letter. We do appreciate the exclusionary zone comments, but we need all you. We don't have all you together. These people are not going to care. Your support. Appreciate your time.
Who would be next?
Hello. Hi there. Nice to see you all. My name is Allison Barrick, and I live at 8189 Lake Road, Northeast, Millersport. I live a quarter mile from the proposed Eastern Cottontail project. My home represents one of many that are trapped in the center of the project. Okay, I'm in the center of it. Had I known that a public utility would be installed nearby, I would have never bought my house. That's just a fact. And this project does not fit in our community. Today, we are asking you to write a letter of opposition to the project. We are too populated. This is not under occupied land or underutilized land. In fact, this project has a total of 138 homes within 1,500 feet of a solar panel. 138 homes ranks as the #1 highest when compared with other solar projects in Ohio. #1 highest number of homes. Further, it illustrates on the board, there are 258 homes within 1/2 mile of the project, of which 5 of those individuals that they participated and they reside in the area. The remaining do not and are unaffected by the project. This is not okay. It's unacceptable. There are too many innocent people who live nearby and are impacted. And you've heard some here, but there are many, as you see. Utility solar should not be installed on prime farmland, and utility solar most certainly should not be installed in highly populated areas. In addition, Ohio has 86,000 acres occupied by solar. That does not mean I'm not into diversifying our energy sources. You have to think about the people that are impacted. That is the important point here. Please write a letter of opposition today. That's what we're asking you to do, all of you in unison. The Farm Bureau has taken a decisive stance, and we thank them. This is very appropriate and responsible. Mr. Fix, you have taken a decisive stance, and we thank you.
Please conclude.
Mr. Levesey and Mr. Davis, we ask that you move from neutral and take a decisive stance to oppose the project. And I thank you for your consideration and your time.
Who would be next? Going once. Going twice. So, just under the bell. Thank you.
My name is Betty Bennett. I live at 4160 Baltimore Somerset Road Northeast. That's Pleasantville, Ohio. My husband George and I built our home nearly 35 years ago. We raised our 4 children there. I can't tell you how much this project has turned my life upside down. I'm not going to repeat everything everybody else said, the destruction of the farmland, the water safety, all that. Property values is a big one. But we built our lifetime of memories here. Our land, our home means everything to us. It's not just where we live, it's who we are. We chose this rural, peaceful place because it felt like home. And we have every right to expect that it remains a safe and tranquil space for our family and our community. Yet now our way of life is under threat by the proposed solar farm, which is adjacent to our home. It's right across the road. I cannot express how deeply it affects us. We watch the fields of corn and soybeans change with seasons, enjoyed the sounds of the birds on our porch, even witnessed bald eagles on our property. These moments most define the joy and beauty of our lives here, as well as the reprieve that our home offers to our grandchildren who visit often. But if this project moves forward, all that will be gone, replaced by an industrial solar facility. The thought of waking up each day to the hum of machinery instead of nature breaks my heart. What saddens me most is this fight feels so unfair. I've read letters in support of this project from people who don't even live here. They don't understand what we stand to lose. We're the ones who live here. We're the ones that's going to endure the consequences. As retirees, we should be enjoying our golden years, our lives in peace. Instead, we find ourselves fighting to protect our home, our health, and the life we've built. It's exhausting and heartbreaking. Please, I'm begging you to listen to the voices of people in this community. Do not let this project move forward. Stand with your constituents and reject the Eastern Cottontail Project. Thank you for taking the time to hear my heartfelt plea. I hope people do what's right, not for the temporary gain, but for the lasting good of the people and the kind of lifestyle we hold dear. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
You can go.
Lisa Thomas, 4718 Baltimore Somerset Road, Pleasantville. I moved here totally unaware these leases were being drafted and signed. This has been done behind the public's backs, under the table, to say the least. Why all the secrecy? I think we all know the answer to that question. This project is and will affect my life in many ways. This has made me a very angry person, realizing an industrial solar plant can be built that will surround my home. Forget the fact that this is in an area zoned rural residential. These days, we just adopt laws that strip away our local zoning. So, I ask, where are my property rights? This has consumed my life and taken away my sense of happiness and security in my own home. Law has even determined how loud the buzzing noise can be. We will have to endure this noise 24/7. Currently, it is very tranquil and quiet, which is why I moved here in the first place. This will impact my property values, and it is affecting my mental and physical health. The stress alone from this possible destruction is palpable. The electric these inefficient, not green, toxic panels produce will not benefit Walnut Township. So why is it okay to destroy people's lives in rural areas to benefit others? Who is writing these laws and who is it protecting? People that do not live anywhere close to this mess and will not be affected at all should not have a say in this process. That's like me saying I have a vested interest in what's going on in your neighborhoods, and I should have a say in what will affect your surroundings and your property values. You have passed an exclusionary zone for all of Fairfield County, yet Walnut Township is being hung out to dry. You're still jumping through hoops because of a partially grandfathered clause thanks to Senate Bill 52. This decision will directly affect our community for the rest of our lives. Solar projects are usually not denied unless all 3 commissioners are in opposition of the project. We still have 2 commissioners that can help us put an end to this real-life 3-year nightmare. I am asking you to use your authority and have our backs. Your voices, or lack thereof, speaks volumes. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who would like to address the commission tonight? Hearing none, I'd like to just make a couple of comments. First of all, to all of you who spoke, all but one, thank you for the way you conducted yourselves this evening. You were respectful to us, you were respectful to each other, differing opinions. I appreciate the way that this was handled. For the one person who made a comment about Commissioner Levesey, as long as I'm drawing breath on this earth, I will shout from the mountaintop that there's no one that I know that has more integrity than Commissioner Dave Levesey. Not one person on this earth that I know has more integrity than Commissioner Dave Levesey. So for someone to come in here and question that integrity is beyond reproach and will not be tolerated. I appreciate all the comments, except that one. We're going to go into recess. All of you who don't want to sit through the rest of our meeting are welcome to take your leave. If you want to stay, you're welcome to. We'll be back here at 8:50.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
If I might.
Please.
So just want to follow up on Commissioner Fix's comments. You can say fairly large number of crappy things about me, and a lot of those things are going to be true. When you say crappy things about Commissioner Levesey, it really, really harms your position. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. We're in recess until 8:50. Thank you. Back in session. Thank you to all of you for sitting through the fun part. Yeah, so we don't have legal representation tonight, so we do not. No legal update. So that means it's time for the county administration update. Ani?
All right, we'll keep it brief here to get us rolling along. Yesterday, the administrative courthouse has a official security presence beginning yesterday. Many thanks to Sheriff Lake for helping us to fill this role. Deputy Andy Roberts, who many of you may know, was next door in the Hall of Justice. He is stationed over here now and is, we are working towards a transition plan upon Deputy Roberts' retirement. So appreciate the sheriff filling this so quickly, but it is ever evolving. So we'll work through this. The sheriff actually just helped me out quicker than I thought he could. So we're adapting as we can. County elected official and department head roundtable. Our first one for 2025 is scheduled for February 25th from 1 to 4 at the Ag Center, and we will be reviewing the final draft of the 25-28 strategic plan. Review packet does contain a list of administrative approvals, 17 resolutions on the agenda for the voting meeting tonight. Hit just a couple highlights here. Resolution to approve an expedited type 2 annexation of 5.0 acres from Pleasant Township to the city of Lancaster. Mr. Hodge, are you here? And I know you may not have taken advantage of the public comment section, but didn't know if you wanted to speak to that annexation or not.
Just briefly, thank you very much. I'm Nick Cavaleris. I work.
So sorry. Okay.
That's okay.
Thank you.
8,000 Walton Park. We've had the pre-annexation agreement approved by City Council, and we've had the service resolution approved by the city as well. It's a type 2 annexation, 100% owner, 5 acres is sort of complete the area of Blue Label Packaging Company, the property, adjacent property. Yeah, thank you very much.
You sat here for 2 hours to say that.
So sorry. Wanted to make sure to give you an opportunity.
I didn't think I had a choice.
We also have 2 resolutions authorizing advances from the general fund to CDBG funds, a resolution approving funding from the Domestic Relations Special Projects Fund to the Visitation Center Fund. The judge is doing this to help in this hopefully off year of the visitation grant and able to support that. So we appreciate that from Judge Smith. A resolution from Economic and Workforce Development to approve a revolving loan fund for the Creative Coach Company. This loan is in the amount of $75,000 and will allow for a purchase of a motor coach. We good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, keep us rolling. A resolution from the engineer's office to approve an agreement between them and CTL Engineering for construction and inspection testing services.
Coach?
No, Creative Coach is, which is the fun bus. It's a revolving loan fund. It will allow them to buy a motor.
And that's just a portion of the cost.
Correct.
That's not the total cost.
Yeah, thank you. Carry on.
Resolution from JFS authorizing a shared family foster home agreement between JFS here in Fairfield County and Perry County Children's Services. And also a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding between JFS and Family and Children First Council for fiscal services. So we are continuing to provide those services to council. And I think, Heather, you might say that Tiffany et al. Are very pleased with that relationship as it continues. Thank you to Corey and Heather for continuing to provide that oversight and those services. Resolution approving a service agreement extension between the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office and the City of Canal Winchester. This agreement is for law enforcement and jail services. And lastly, a resolution from MCU for an advance from the general fund for $75,000 to be paid back by the end of 25. They had received a violent crime reduction grant, and the advance is necessary to allocate monies to pay vendors in a timely fashion. This was a grant that had already been applied for and received. We already had our budget review. Bennett, run calendar review and invitations received quickly, please.
For the sake of time, I will be brief. The Commissioner's calendar review, invitations received, and correspondence will all be available in the meeting minutes and posted to the website. I will make note of one last-minute invitation that was received today for the grand opening of Clear Sky Rehabilitation Hospital of Lancaster. That'll be next Wednesday, February 12th at 4 p.m., and that address is 1201 River Valley Boulevard in Lancaster. That's it.
Thank you very much, Bennett. That's all, Commissioner.
Thank you. Elected officials, Mr. Meyer.
Well, I stole Tiffany from you guys and you stole Deputy Roberts from the Hall of Justice, I guess. It's even now.
I did not.
There was a little accident up at the Pickerington B&B this morning, and I'd just like to thank the Sheriff's Office for those that responded and John for his staff quickly responding. No one was hurt, but an elderly gentleman did kind of drive through the front wall of the B&B this morning.
To the wall of our building.
Yeah.
We'll get to John in a minute. Anything else for you?
Nope.
Thank you for being here tonight. Dr. Brown.
Thank you to the commissioners and the transit leadership for the approval of the advertisement for the organ transplant programs that Noel Saunders had suggested. It's very meaningful to his family. It's very meaningful at this point in time. And I'm passing on that thanks because it meant quite a deal to him. I also wanted to point out a news release relating to the homestead program. Everyone's going to receive letters as we're required to send out, but you only need to respond to this letter if you've had changes. So we're doing a big campaign about that, but still people still believe they have to make responses to that, but it's only if you've had any change in your income. And that would be an increase in your income. The website has updates for the tax estimator tool as well as the tax distribution list. That's been very helpful in terms of how people are able to voice their concerns, because you do see people are aware of where the distribution of taxes are going. And I'm seeing that, and you're seeing that in some of the correspondence that you've received as well. We have the map of the month, which is the 8 presidents that hail from Ohio. We have schools that have already been requesting this. I have those for you today. And we did commit to updating the solar, the CAUV maps in 2025, and the first quarter updates are here.
Thank you. Mr. Zabrak.
Just the Clear Sky grand opening. I had a chance to visit with them. They have over 100 employees there. It's a much bigger operation than I expected, and 35 in hospital beds for people through rehabilitation. So it's pretty good.
Is that primarily substance abuse? Or?
No. It's it's physical rehab.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yep. So if people more intense than going into or less intense than going into like a senior living facility first.
So it's a halfway house from the hospital to home.
Yeah.
I know I said before the land use plan at Greenfield Township, was that 5 tomorrow or was that 7?
Let's see you there. Joe.
Just let you know, we're still in the heart of flu season. We kind of expected it would be winding down, but it is not. So we still have flu vaccines available, but it's just a reminder that you got complacent, I think, over the past few years, and flu has not gone away. And we've seen a lot of hospitalizations.
Thank you for being here tonight, Joe. Heather.
Opportunity support.
Corey's going to yield his time back to you, John.
As Brandon mentioned, we had a little incident this morning. No injuries.
How bad's the damage?
It's going to be extensive. It's going to be a big repair. The vehicle driver was fully insured. We've already those contacts with Corsa. So it's just going to be a pretty extensive project. That section of the building, about 20 feet, will have to be fully removed and replaced. Windows, foundation. Luckily, it's the way the construction is. He got right in the middle of the 2 support poles. so it didn't affect the actual roof structure or it caused any structural issues. So we can still operate in the building. It's ugly, but it's buttoned up.
So did we revoke his license?
He was actually there because his license was already suspended. Or expired, sorry, not suspended.
So BMB needs to put a button note on that, say, Port Albert or something.
I think his insurance company will probably take care of the issue. Both of them.
All right. Anything else for you, John?
Mr. President, if I might.
Yes.
So I did have a chance to speak with John earlier today and wanted to just share with my colleagues the content of that conversation and why it was initiated. So the solar field that we have at the BMV, gathering data on that, but it'll be some time before we have sufficient amount of data to determine whether that is a viable project or not, or whether it should be repeated. Meantime, anticipate that all or portions of the Inflation Reduction Act would be repealed in the near term. When that happens, the 30% offset to the cost of a solar installation would go away, which is fine. The purpose of my conversation with John was to just suggest that we have RFPs and a preparedness for Project 2, just on the off chance that we might make that window for the 30% reduction in cost, even though that seems unlikely at this point in time.
Dan Neely.
Guidance for a citizen that left them here. IT update is we've been replacing the badge readers in the county. That is going well, but they act a little differently than new readers. So I would like to catch the 3 commissioners before you all leave the building, just to verify something. So,
thank you. Corey?
Well, since Heather teed it up for me, I'll just say that we are digging into the governor's budget in the sections of it that deal with our program areas. And so far, what we can tell, a lot of the program areas are flat funded, but there are some exciting things in the protected services and childcare programs that could have a very positive impact. So we're optimistic about those things and hope that they make it through the next 5 months of negotiations.
I've talked to the governor multiple times about how he needs to step up the pace of providing for protective services.
Well, there's several provisions in there, so.
Yeah, so this will be his last budget, so.
Yeah. Now or never, right?
All right. Anything else?
That's all.
Mr. Porter.
I have no updates.
Okay. Old business. Commissioner Davis?
Just a couple of things, if I might. My colleagues are aware that the public hearings for the Power Siting Board were earlier this last week or whenever they were. That was fine. I got a notice today, and I had received one before. So I got a notice as an ad hoc member of the Power Siting Board that I was welcome but not required to attend the public hearings. That was fine. I decided to attend those public hearings. Didn't think much of that notice. But when I got a notice today saying that I was welcome but not required to attend the evidentiary hearings that start on March 4th at 10 a.m., that bothered me a little bit. I just wanted to mention it because it would seem I probably got the same notice that all Ohio Power Siting Board members got. And if they all are welcome but not required to attend the evidentiary hearings and having not attended the public hearings, my concern is this, and I just want my colleagues to be aware of it. It's not enough for a process to actually be authentic and real. It needs to look authentic and real at the very same time. If this process goes all the way to the end and the Ohio Power Siting Board meets at some point, I presume, to deliberate if they are even going to do that, it could be a deliberation among most of the people who will never have seen the public hearings or the evidentiary hearings, but who had made available to them transcripts of all that previously transpired. I don't know who wrote the rules, but it wasn't someone who has done this before.
All right, any other old business for you? Commissioner Levesey?
So, just to make things clear, it was mentioned that, I didn't attend Tuesday's public hearing, which I didn't, but I did attend Monday's, which was a long portion. There was half a dozen or about a dozen or so additional people to speak, that Tuesday night.
All right, my old business, I didn't attend either. I was off on vacation, happily so. Earlier today, attended the Silicon Heartland 40-minute meeting. It's basically the group that ODOT has put together with the 40-minute ring around Intel. Anthony Iacchini from our Economic Development Group was there, as well as Jeremiah Upp, our county engineer. It was an engineering-heavy talk, which was difficult to sit through. But the last hour was more positive. Jamie Green from Planning Next, who we engaged, used the Fairfield County program as an example of how counties could do planning really well. And he kind of very gently took some pokes at Licking County for not doing anything, and expressed some appreciation for Knox County for following paths. So it was good to be recognized for doing things the right way. You know, we always talk about how Fairfield County is leading the charge, from the things that Dr. Brown does, Brandon, and all of our elected officials and our directors here. And it's good when that leadership that we all do. So that was good. For new business, I have, we'll be attending the Greenfield Township Land Use meeting tomorrow. They're making progress. A friend of mine, John Campbell, is a lobbyist in Columbus, successfully so. One of his clients is Google, and Google has asked him to facilitate a meeting with leadership in Fairfield County for meeting next Wednesday. Amber Tillman is the head of Data Center Public Affairs for the Eastern U.S. and Canada. She will be coming to the area to attend, I believe, the Lancaster State of the City address, which is on Thursday. So we're trying to put together a meeting Wednesday morning at our workforce center so we can show that off. As I get more details, I will make my colleagues aware and hope that you can join.
I'd love to come.
Join it. That's all I have for new business. Commissioner Levesey, any new business?
Can't think of anywhere at the moment.
Okay. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, just to mention, a number of us, myself included, were invited to the Yellow Bud project for a tour. I accepted that invitation and toured that project for people, including representatives of that project. Yellow Bud stood out by the various kinds of equipment that create noise, and stood next to them and observed their screening, or in some cases lack thereof. And it was a very informative tour, and just appreciate those patient and opportunity to see that project. Just another day in a series of days, continuing to try to learn as much as possible, to try to make that appropriate decision whenever I get that opportunity.
So a couple times tonight, folks addressed a letter that I submitted to the Power Siting Board, and I'm not going to read the whole thing into the record, but I will say this, that my reasoning behind that was not about any of the stuff that any of those folks talked about, either in favor of or against. For Eastern Cottontail in particular, it does abut the northern boundary of Thurston, the village of Thurston. And the village of Thurston wants to grow and has been most willing of all the townships and villages that we've worked with. They have been the most aggressive in working with us. They've already adopted our version of land use plan. They've already adopted our version of the model zoning. They have already been working with Walnut Township on NCA and are really close to having that done. They want to grow, and that northern boundary is one of the prime places that they could grow. My opposition to that particular solar project is that it is too close to areas that will heighten some high likelihood will be developed either commercially, industrially, or residentially in the next 10 to 20 years. And the more I learn about what's coming from Intel and what's coming from Anduril and what's coming from everything else and what's going to likely, none of us have a crystal ball, but what is likely going to happen here in Fairfield County, the more concerned I am that we need the lands that abut our villages for growth. So that's why I took the stand I did. Again, it's not for any of the reasons that any of those folks talked about. It's not because they're upset about what they might see or hear or feel. It's because to me, that land is much better used for development. I respect colleagues and their desire to or not to take a stand. I've not asked them to. I won't ask them to. Each of us has to do what we think is best, and I know we're doing that. So that being said, let's go into our voting pattern. If you all would rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Are there any announcements?
There are no announcements.
Looking for a motion for the approval of the minutes of January 28, 2025.
So moved. Second. Wait a minute, was I here?
Yes, you were. I was not. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Abstain?
Minutes passed 2-0. From the Commissioners, Resolution 2025-02.04.a, a resolution to approve the annexation of 5.8 plus or minus acres from Pleasant Township to the City of Lancaster, expedited Type 2 pursuant to ORC 709.023, David Hodge petitioner.
Under Commissioners, I move resolutions A, B, C, and D.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Resolutions passed 3-0. From Fairfield County Domestic Relations Court, Resolution 2025-02.04.e, a resolution approving funding from Domestic Relations Special Projects Fund number 2625 to Visitation Center Fund number 1001, appropriate from unappropriated Special Projects Fund.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? None, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Resolution passes 3-0. From Fairfield County Economic and Workforce Development, Resolution 2025-02.04.f, a resolution to approve loan documents to fund Creative Coach Co. as a Fairfield County revolving loan project.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Resolution passes 3-0. From the Fairfield County Engineer, Resolution 2025-02.04.g, a resolution to approve an agreement between Fairfield County and CTL Engineering Incorporated.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey? Commissioner Davis? Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Resolution passes 3-0. From Fairfield County Facilities, Resolution 2025-02.04.h, a resolution to approve a contract amendment between Steed Hammond Paul Incorporated, DBA SHP Architects Incorporated, and the Fairfield County Commissioners.
Under Fairfield County Jobs and Family Services.
Well, we're on facilities.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
It's just a project management design of the OU medical lab space at the workforce center. Have to get started.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Resolution passes 3-0. From Fairfield County Job and Family Services, Resolution 2025-02.04.I, a resolution to approve a memo expense memo receipt for the costs of transportation paid to Lancaster Fairfield Public Transit as a memo expenditure for Fund Number 2018 Public Assistance Fund.
Fairfield County Job and Family Services, I move resolutions, I, J, K, L, and N.
Second. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Resolutions passed 3-0. From the Fairfield County Sheriff, Resolution 2025-02.04.N, a resolution authorizing the approval to extend service agreements by and between Fairfield County Sheriff's Office and the City of Canal Winchester.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? None, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Resolution passes 3-0. From South Central Major Crimes Unit, Resolution 2025-02.04.O, a resolution authorizing the approval of an advance from the general fund to MCU Fund 7911 Violent Crime Reduction Grant 2024.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yeah.
Resolution passes 3-0. Fairfield County Transit, Resolution 2025-02.04.P, a resolution to approve a memo expense memo receipt for the costs of flood insurance premiums effective 8/1/2024 paid by general fund during transit transition as a memo expenditure for Fund Number 1246 Transit Fund.
Second.
Discussion?
I was daydreaming during the South Central Major Crimes Unit legislation. I wasn't trying to avoid it. Thank you.
How was your daydream?
Uh,
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Resolution passes 3-0. The payment of bills, Resolution 2025-02.04.Q, a resolution authorizing the approval of payments of the vouchers without appropriate carryover purchase orders and the cash disbursement for all departments that are approved by the commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Resolution passes 3-0. The next regular meeting is scheduled for February 11th, 2025 at 9 a.m.
So these are, long meetings, challenging meetings, but I appreciate the level of professionalism that we all carry ourselves with and the way that we treat our constituents. Is there any other business to be had before the commission this evening? Yeah, yes. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was supposed to become the meeting.
Any other business before the commission this evening? Looking for a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much. Have a safe drive.